Kushner and Witkoff are at the Omani embassy in Geneva. Hopefully they're not eating squid or eel. Here's the Wall Street Journal headline. Well, let's do it this way. What suggests we may be going to war, besides every source associated with the administration? Here is the Wall Street Journal 105. Says the U.S. has deployed combat jets to Israel in a first. U.S. deploys combat jets to Israel for potential wartime mission in Iran. In prior years, the U.S. took pains to avoid highlighting how closely it worked with Israel. Believe me, they're still taking pains to highlight it. There's tons of intelligence and military coordination been going on for days, maybe weeks, with the Israelis to talk about a joint operation of some sort. Politico has a story I don't really understand that says it would be good if the U.S., if Israel struck Iran first. I don't understand that story, but there is a lot of coordination. So that suggests war. Yesterday, both the Vice President and the Secretary of State spoke separately to make the case effectively for war, highlighting in particular Iran's nuclear program and their missile program. And yet, as I said, the Iranians today and sources around the talks have said they're going well, and that the Iranians are open to a pretty restrictive deal around the nuclear program. Now, I don't know if they get a nuclear deal, if that's going to do it for the U.S., because they may want a missile deal. Here's 107. This is the latest on the talks from the Times of Israel. U.S.-Iran nuclear talks pause. Omani foreign minister says, hailing creative and positive ideas. Again, the Omanis have been positive today. The Iranians have been positive. All that matters is when the thing ends, when Witkoff and Jared call the president. That's all that matters. Don't listen to any other mood music. But Matt Gorman,
yeah,
are we headed towards war, or more jar, jar, jaw?
I think more war than jar. I thought it was notable that Vance spoke out so supportive of it. I mean, right? It's his prerogative to not want to get involved in these things more often than not. But like, I also think too, you're right. Witkoff and Kushner getting the phone with the president is key. I think I would switch the war talk to the jar talk if somebody like a Rubio or the like gets in a plane and goes over there more than
He's supposed to be meeting with Bibi on Saturday. I think that's just a big feint. I don't think it's going to be with Bibi. Yeah. Jaime, what are you looking at in terms of the military buildups there?
Yeah.
The Israelis' mood music to me suggests that they think we're about to have a big strike. What are you looking what Schumer said the other day also? But what are you looking at on this?
Yeah, look, I think Matt just framed it well. It seems like the president has put himself in the most strategic position to do some sort of strike, and so so I think that's notable. And two, to your point, I think we've got to see what Kushner and Witkoff say when they go over there. It seems like the president has had enough, and he's already fed up, and he's allowing the Iranians to placate the media, while he is positioning himself to go in and do something very targeted and very strategic. I think the longer this goes on, I think the more likely the president will go in very quickly and pop out. I don't think this is going to be something that he would want to have as a long-term, operation. So I think today is going to be very important, but it does look like the president is headed toward some sort of surgical drop-in.
Yeah. Look, Donald Trump could pull the plug on the whole thing. And if he does, people are going to say loss of credibility, just like Obama. I don't believe he feels that way about it. If he decides that the risk is too great and he can get an intermediate deal with the Iranians, I think you got to be open to that. But I believe the base case remains this. He wants to get this over with. He wants this to be the last time in his presidency he has to deal with Iran's nuclear capability, their missile capability, their sponsorship of terrorism, and this regime. So I'm not predicting here there's going to be a big attack, but I'm just telling you, to me, that's the most likely, and it will be done with purpose. And the reason you've read accounts over the last 2 weeks that say this could go on for 10 days is because this is not hit a nuclear facility and demand they come to the negotiating table. This is, we're done dealing with this as a problem. That's what I think is the mindset. But it doesn't mean, and again, I'm not hedging for the purposes of avoiding being wrong. I'm trying to share with you what I know and what I think is true. He could also pull the plug on the whole thing.
Yeah.
He could sign a deal that critics will say, the Wall Street Journal editorial page, people who are very hawkish on Iran will say, crappy deal. We went through all of that. You claimed you were not Obama and you made a crappy deal. That could happen too. Now let's Polymarket this from our partners at Polymarket. Will the U.S. invade Iran before the end of this year? Will the U.S. invade Iran? This is number 108. Now the way they define invade Iran is takes control of any Iranian territory. Will the U.S. invade Iran? 20% chance, according to Polymarket wagers. As you can see, it's moved up and down, but it's at I think this is the high. This is the highest it's been. Haima, the president is not going to put boots on the ground. Is it possible, though, that in some way special forces or in concert with the Israelis, there'd be an invasion as defined that way into Iran, or you think 20% even is too high?
Well, no, no. I think. I mean, look, there's definitely potential. You know, when you go into any sort of warlike scenario, you know, it's not about what you do; it's about the reaction. And so we're not quite sure how, you know, other partners and allies of Iran will take this. And so there is a chance that the president will have to double down and go in for some sort of second go at it. And so we can't deny that. That is not what the president wants to do, I don't believe. But that's going to depend on the reaction from Iran and from their allies.
Matt Gorman, what's the worst case for the United States that you worry about here?
I mean,
In other words, Iran retaliation that kills thousands of Americans and Israelis. What's the worst case on your radar?
I think the worst case on my radar is not necessarily deaths in Iran, but splinter cells, suicide bombings, God forbid, stateside here, right? Like everything we talked about post Soleimani as a possibility coming to fruition through this.
Yeah. Hey, want to be part of the two-way community all the time? Hit the subscribe button. Great video clips like this, plus conversations like no other, full episodes, and more, always available on this channel. You got to hit subscribe to never miss a thing. You can now listen to full episodes of The Morning Meeting and Two Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.